Some 3D prints here and also some CNC carves, and I want to just show you how you make a mold. Start rubbing it. You can see that the texture, extremely runny. That's going to pour perfectly in our mold. A deep pour of your chocolate, and literally it's just as easy. What you'll find is once in a great while you stumble across something that works spectacularly well. I'm going to show you today how you can use your CNC or 3D printer to make custom chocolate creations. Just need some aluminum foil. Thinner is better. And place it over your 3D carving or 3D print. Let me demonstrate. You might want to use 2 pieces, and that way the bottom piece will be the one that touches the wood, and you're going to stay away from using it. And the one above it, well, it should be completely sterile because it's going to be tinfoil on tinfoil. If I was to make a rubbing of this, you're going to go ahead and put your piece of tinfoil on there. If you're going to make chocolate and you want to be absolutely as sterile as possible because you're worried about maybe a finish that's on the wood or somebody's got some sort of allergy, then you can put another piece of tinfoil so that you know it's only tinfoil touching tinfoil, and then this top piece is of course what we would use to make our chocolate with. What you're going to do is you're just going to start slowly working out from whatever your carving is and start rubbing it. And when you do, you're going to see it magically seemingly appear. Make sure you get really good down into the crevices with the pad of your finger, and you just can keep going and going. It will give you some depth for your pour. So I like my carve being a little deeper, but you can always bend your tinfoil after the fact to create depth. So even if you have a really shallow carve, you can do that. So there's my image, and if I flip it over on the back side, that's what we're going to pour our chocolate onto. And then this is the original one here. So hopefully you can see it comes off really nice. You can actually use it to archive 3D carves that you have, because sometimes you give them away and you don't necessarily want to make a whole nother one, but you could just hang this on a wall. So let me just show you real quick how this works with another one of these for simplicity. But this is a bald eagle that I have a picture that I created a 3D model on. And if you weren't worried about the surface of the wood, then you can do something like this. And the more you fiddle with it, the better it's going to be. And there's certain things, try to get your eye in, the beak. Some areas are going to be more important for defining the structure. Right around the beak and the head are going to be kind of a big deal, especially the eye. And then you go like that. And there you've got yourself your mold for your bird. And that's where you would pour your chocolate, on the back side. Or if you are worried about the surface of the wood, then you could definitely put another piece of foil down. So do be conscious of whether your wood is what you would consider food grade or not before you do it. I would probably put another piece of tinfoil if I was going to give it away to somebody but myself. And now let me just show you real quick that you can do the same thing with a 3D print. So here's a 3D print. That's just a smaller version of that same picture of the eagle. And you can see that this particular one has very defined lines. And so you get your model of your eagle on there, wrap around the sides a bit, and then if you flip it over, that's what you're going to pour your chocolate into. And I'm going to show you what these look like. So let's go get some chocolate and let's pour some of these out, and you'll see that you can actually make remarkably good. And don't hesitate to go ahead and bend it up a little bit. You can even cut around the outside and make a lip and make your chocolate pour deeper if you want to. So I've got some melting wafers. So you can find this in your local grocery store. There's all kinds of different brands. If you go to craft stores, you can also get these wafers. I don't know that they call them melting wafers in the craft store, but this is a dark. You can get milk, you can get different colors. And so they work a lot better. I tried it with a regular chocolate bar, and I found it didn't melt very well in my microwave. And actually, if you overheat it, it will burn, which I definitely did. So you got to heat these very, very slowly. It recommends half power, and do it in about 15 to 30 second intervals, stirring in between. You don't want to overheat this. So let's go ahead and do this. You can also do this over water and then a secondary little boiler pan. But you don't need to put a whole bunch of these chips in, just enough to do whatever mold you're going to do. So I'm going to do something like that. So probably about 3 ounces. One of these bags, I think it's about a little less than $6 for 10 ounces of chocolate, which is actually pretty good. Much cheaper than buying it by the candy bar. So I'm going to go put this in the microwave, and I'll show you that. Got my melting chocolates in a microwave safe bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the microwave. I'm gonna use half power, which on mine I have to use auto defrost, and I have to put a weight in, but I'm really watching the time. So I'm gonna do 30 seconds. I'm gonna stir and then put it back in for every 15 seconds, stirring until I've got all the chips melted. So you definitely don't want to overheat or you will burn your chips. So I'm going to start this and let it go 30 seconds on auto defrost, and we'll see how that transpires. So that was about 30 seconds. So this is what it looks like after 30 seconds. You can already see that one of them is starting to melt a little bit. At 30 seconds, at basically half power. So it's already getting close. If you overheat it, you will definitely burn these, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in my mic and hit it for another 15 seconds, and then I'll show you again. So still half power auto defrost. So I'm gonna give it another 15 seconds. Well, 15 more seconds. It's been 15 more seconds, and you can already see that that is almost all done. In fact, if you stir it, you may find that that's enough with the heat that's already in this microwave safe bowl to finish melting off the chips. So that was 45 seconds at half power on mine. Yours is probably even gonna be less than that. So if you have the melting chips, it doesn't take much. And you can see that the texture, extremely runny. That's gonna pour perfectly in our mold. So here's my tin foil. If you want, you can rim up the tin foil a little bit, but I'm just gonna overheat it. But you could definitely put a rim if you want a deep pour of your chocolate, and literally it's just as easy as scooping it on where you want. Spread it out a little bit so that it gets down the crevices. One of the advantages of using this type of mold, which I'm showing you, is tinfoil is an extremely good conductor of heat. And so instead of waiting a long time for your molds to solidify, this thing is going to cool off real fast. In fact, I'm fairly certain if you just did it at room temperature, you wouldn't even have to put this in the fridge. But it's better if you put it in the fridge, or if you want it really fast, you can put it in the freezer. And in the freezer, it's probably going to take less than 2 minutes, and you're going to be ready with your chocolate. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little pretzel stick, and I've got some extra chocolate. So I'm just going to heap it on there and kind of glue that hold stick into my creation. And then I'm going to set this in my freezer and let it go for maybe like 2 minutes. But you could leave this out on your counter, and at room temperature, this will solidify. So probably in less than 10 minutes. I'm going to go set this in the fridge, and I'll show you what it looks like, and we'll peel it back, and you'll see our final creation. It was a minute and a half in the freezer, and you can tell the sheen of it kind of changes. It's much more matte finish, and that's when you know it's essentially done. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to very carefully peel the chocolate off. And this is what I didn't think would happen. I thought I would have to put some sort of release agent, butter or oil or something. But what you'll find is that this comes off really well. And I don't know how well that's focusing in. Is that awesome? You have yourself a 3D carve, and you can do that with any carve you want. You can make them deeper and put an edge around it, fill them full of peanut butter, fill them full of Rice Krispies. It's really, really, really cool. I'm gonna try to take a good photo of this with some light because I don't think it's doing justice where I'm at right now. I hope you really enjoyed that. The best part of it though is not making the video, it's eating your creations. Dip this in a little peanut butter, maybe sprinkle a little sea salt on it before it hardens. So good. I've got some sneaky things coming with that foil and my CNC, so make sure if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, be watching for the next video. You're gonna like it. And what you can do with chocolate, you can do with other things. I think you know where we're going. It's so good. Really great gifts to give people. Hope you enjoyed. If you found something you haven't seen before, please hit like on this and leave a comment. I think it's awesome. I love it. I know I'm going to use it, and I think you will too.